Hey,
Hey guys,
happy
happy
Monday.
Monday.
So, we're here, Cheddar's Girls. I'm Rachel,
I'm Rebecca.
and we just want to talk to you today about today's obedience bringing and resulting in tomorrow's blessings.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the verses in the Bible that I think really captures that message in a snapshot is Deuteronomy, the 5th chapter, and the 33rd verse. And it basically says, just to sum it up, is that if you walk in the ways of the Lord, you listen to the Lord, that you will live and all will be well with you, and that you will prosper in the land that you are to possess. And for us, that means you're obedient today and tomorrow you're blessed. And so we're just encouraging you because it's not always easy. We're human. It's not always easy to be
Right.
obedient to the word of the Lord once you realize and you know what you are to do. It is easy to say yes. It's so easy to say yes, Lord. Yes,
Ooh,
Lord.
yes, it is.
But when you realize what you're saying yes to, then you may start counting up costs and things you may have already invested in, or things that you may want to do yourself, but you don't know your future.
Yeah.
God knows your future.
And you want, when you say yes to God, you want your yes to remain the same. So you don't want your yes to God to be a conditional yes. You
That's
want,
good.
I'm going to say yes before I know what you're asking me to do,
Yeah.
and after I know what you're asking me to do.
Yeah,
I'm still going
regardless
to
of what
say
it
yes.
is.
My answer will be yes, Lord, yes.
Yeah.
As well, it's also important, I feel like, when we're talking about something like this, that you take into consideration God's timing not being our timing.
Yeah.
Because just because we get that blessing tomorrow, that could be God's tomorrow. That may not be
Tuesday.
when you
Right.
wake up at 5-6 o'clock a.m. Oh God, I'm looking around for my blessing. Well, guess what? It's still on the way, but you still have to hold that obedience and keep your patience, because timing is everything.
Yeah.
And when you are obedient, you are rewarded for your obedience.
And I think that's so good what you're saying, because I feel like this is the moment that I need to be encouraged. Other people need to be encouraged. We need to be encouraged.
Yeah.
When you have been obedient and you're still having to continue to listen to God. You go to God, but you have to listen to Him, and you're finding yourself wondering, okay, so now through all this obedience, even at points where you may have had to give up things, or you may feel like you're at a loss. I guess I would also want to say that the cost of disobedience is much higher than any cost that you can think of associated with obedience. Because in the beginning of obedience, all you see is the so-called cost.
Yeah.
And you have no idea what the reward. Well, depending on how long you've been in your walk with God, you might start to have an idea of what that that reward is going to look like.
Yeah.
And you trust it, because it's like, well, God, if this is the cost, I know my blessing of tomorrow is going to be great. But we just want to encourage you, because you may find yourself constantly being obedient, and then waiting for your blessing. Like, okay, well, where is it? I did what you said do. It's been a month now, and I'm still broke. Or I did what you said do.
So with that, when you are constantly obedient, so you might be waiting for a blessing that you were specifically praying for. So just because you're not seeing what you were praying for doesn't mean that God has not been blessing you. Because that's something that I feel like I learned very early on in life. And so my prayers are usually towards God, have your way, not what I'm asking you for, because what I'm asking you for might lead me into some place that I don't need to go.
Right.
But if I'm asking you to have your way, then I can have more of an open mind. You can open my eyes, and I can see, okay, Rebecca, yeah, you've been praying for this and that, and with your obedience, and you might not have seen it, but yet have I kept you, yet have I stayed with you, yet have I been with you, yet have I not given you all of these blessings when this was a designed time to take you out, and yet you're still here.
And protected you from danger seen and unseen.
Even and when I can't see it, you're working.
You're working.
Yep.
And those are the things, like we've shared and talked about this before, that prayer to God, Lord, let me see with the eyes of my heart. Because if we're looking at things with our carnal mind, our carnal vision, we're not going to understand all the time why God says go left, and we've built up everything in our life up to this point to go right.
Yes.
And he's like, well, you can just leave all that there. Good job. Now it's time to go left. And that may be hard, because you start going left and you realize you don't have the resources you think you need. You don't have the people you think you need. So all those things. And in these seasons of God testing, some faith tests and testing, like, are you going to be obedient, or are you just going to do what you want to do, like Jonah, and are you going to get swallowed by a fish? So just be obedient, because God He's with you. He knows what lies ahead.
Yeah.
He knows what lies ahead.
And I'm not gonna go too deep into what you're talking about with Jonah, because that takes me to Vashti, and that could just be a whole nother message, because that's like one of my favorite stories in the Bible. But simple obedience. We're talking about somebody losing their kingdom, losing so many things that had such a I don't even have the words for it, but there was such a respect in something built on something so simple that was gifted to you, and because of your disobedience, somebody else was able to easily come in and not take it, but then now it's given to them. And that's a whole nother thing. I won't get too off tangent.
It is. But, and I don't know that that's really off tangent. I just think that that's yet another example in the Bible where you see the cost of disobedience.
Yeah.
Like, it's a large cost, and it's nothing compared. There's nothing that you are going to give up, sacrifice, lose out on, that God can't give back to you 10 times over.
Yes.
Or that he doesn't want to give back. Like, there's nothing that God's ever told me to do. Has he ever said, I want you to do this for me, and you're going to have to give this up, and I have no intention on ever replacing it,
right,
or ever giving it back, or ever deciding in the future season that you can have it again, the same thing or different. So whenever God tells you to do something, don't worry about if you've already utilized resources or had a certain amount of schooling or spent a certain amount of money or whatever energy and effort that you feel you put into something is not discounted, because I'm sure you did. I know I have. I know you have.
Yeah.
And God has told us, well, that's good. And I'm grateful for those opportunities and those instances, because all the things that I was building up at that time, I needed in the next season. But I didn't need it in the way I thought I did.
Right. Yes.
And so now I have all that, and I get to use it in the way that God wants it to show up in my life. The way God wants that skill set to show up. The way it was
purposed to be.
Right. The way that God wants that money to be spent. The way that God wants the influence in your circle of friends or people, what he wants that to look like. And so whatever you think you're building for some reason, don't feel bad if God tells you, no, go another way or go here. Whether you like the situation or don't like the situation, trust God.
Yeah.
And he's saying, if you would just follow his commands, that not only will you live, but you will live and it will be well with you. That means you will be blessed, you will be prosperous in the land that he has set aside for you to possess. So he's only looking out for you. Everything works together for good. So just be encouraged to continue to obey God. Don't try to jump in and help him out, because you know your whole story. Nobody knows your story like God.
Right.
Nobody knows. And the thing about it is, as much as you feel like you know your story, you might feel strong in your emotions and tied to something. All you know is what you know. God knows your future. God knows your future. So he knows all that you know plus some. So wouldn't you want to trust him?
Mommy was saying, "And life is worth the living just because he lives. I can face tomorrow."
See that? Yes, because he lives, I can face tomorrow. Yeah. Like, and if I know that your promises for me are yes and amen, if I know that in my tomorrow you have blessings for me, then because you live, I know I can face tomorrow.
Right.
Because you're there. You're walking with me. You're leading me. You are the lamp to my feet, the light to my path. I don't have to know where I'm going as long as you do.
That's right.
And as long as I'm listening to where you're taking me. You know, listening and going where you're saying to go.
Yeah.
So we just wanted to share that with you guys. We came in kind of late, so you know, give y'all a little extra dose of a Monday message. And I really hope this encourages you, because sometimes, you know, whether we want to admit it or not, as followers of Christ, we do sometimes want to go our own way. Yeah. And especially in this year, 2020, there's so many curveballs that have been thrown at us. And so many people have acknowledged that, oh, I did something strange right before 2020, or I start preparing for something that nobody understood, and then 2020 pops up and you starting to understand and see. But for some of us, that may not be the case, and this is the moment that we have to start to be obedient, even if we can't see what that's going to bring about. And so I hope that this is encouraging and inspiring to you today. Yeah. We have had a long day. We out here in a car doing this message for y'all today. So I hope that it touches you whenever you get a chance to see it. We love you with the love of God. We want you to take care and be blessed.